Tracy Lydiot is a geologist who had an aha moment that launched her into a career based on green. She's a 3-time TEDx speaker, award-winning sustainability advisor, author, and enviro leader. It is my pleasure to welcome Tracy Lydiot to Studio 4 to tell us more.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Well, we make those resolutions. We lose weight, we exercise more, and some of us say, and we'll get greener in the new year. Why not?
And people say, what the heck does that mean? And how do I do it? Yeah, it's a big challenge for a lot of people. And so that's what my work's focused on, is helping people understand, where do I start? What do I do?
And how do I do it in simple steps?
Exactly.
Exactly. Let's go back to your beginnings, geologist.
Yeah, I know. Crazy, hey?
Hiking the hills, looking for rocks,
looking for
looking gold.
Yeah, and I was a bit of a rock geek in high school and did really well in geography, and it was sort of a natural progression for me. And I did my studies at UBC and just loved it. I love the outdoors. I love like how things work, and I love rocks, so still do. And yeah, I worked in the mining industry up until 2007, so in exploration. Mostly in the Arctic. So
How fascinating. There aren't as many females in exploration as there are males, I hear tell, or is it getting better?
I think it's getting a bit better. It's still definitely a man's world, yeah.
So did you have an aha moment?
A mountain?
Aha moment on a high mountain, or what happened? What got you into sustainability per se?
Right, it's a 90-degree turn, isn't it? So I was actually in the Arctic, no mountains around, no trees. And I was working on this gold project, and we were drilling a bunch of holes in it, trying to figure out like how much is in the ground, what does it look like, and I was just logging like thousands of meters of core over the season, and just took a break one day and was having a cup of tea and looked out on the tundra, and this big caribou just showed up. And you can imagine
They do that.
They just, yeah. I think it was like a bit of a magical caribou. It just sort of appeared, and I was like, wow. And he was just standing exactly where the gold mine was going to go. And I realized, you know what, I just don't really feel like contributing my time and skills that way, because I didn't know how the company would develop the project, how they would treat the locals, what would be the environmental concerns. Like, the industry has strong standards, but for me personally, I just didn't want to contribute that way. So,
did you tell your parents first? I'm no longer a geologist, Mom?
They're so supportive, so they were just want me to be happy. So
Of course.
yeah.
And air, water, land, all of that. And it is the caribou's land after all. We do need resources, as you know, and I know you're not against mining. You're just against mining that isn't so good.
Well, mining has its challenges. I actually think it's one of the most advanced industries from a sustainability perspective. And I think what we need to do is shift our thinking about what are we mining and where is it coming from. Tech has coined a term, urban ore, which I think is so amazing. Because when I teach, I ask people this question, like, do you think if we could capture everything, the metals in pens and cell phones and computers and electronics and buildings, if we could catch that in a tight recycled loop, do you think we'd have enough?
Good question. Because as you know, in the olden days with the tailing ponds and some of the really bad tailing ponds, and they didn't recap the mines and there weren't many rules.
Yeah.
Things are better, definitely, in the industry.
Yeah.
Okay, over to us at home after your aha moment.
Yes.
Define sustainability. Is there a definition?
Oh, this is the $1 million question.
I know.
That's why they pay the big bucks, right? Ask the hard ones. I think the industry has really been struggling with this, and they still continue to struggle. And I mean by industry, by businesses and people. There's a beautiful vision statement defined by the Brundtland definition, or the Brundtland Commission, sorry, called the Brundtland definition, which is we need to have enough resources to provide for future generations, which is a beautiful vision statement. But the challenge that most businesses and people face is, well, what does that mean? What does that mean for if I'm a carpet manufacturer or an automaker or a homemaker? How do I get that into my life? So what I did my master's degree in is something called the Framework for Strategic Sustainable Development, which is a science-based framework that talks about, well, how are we screwing up the planet? What are the fundamental things if we had to break planet Earth? Yeah, there's actually only 4 things we're doing wrong. So That's my definition of sustainability.
Okay, it's a good definition. And the 4 things we're doing wrong are
Well, first one,
polluting the air.
polluting the
No,
air, yeah.
I'm helping.
No, it's good. Well, what we're doing is digging things up too quickly out of the Earth's crust, and that isn't just metals, it's also fossil fuels and minerals that we use like phosphorus and potassium. So we're using these materials much faster than the Earth can regenerate them, which is why, for example, in mining, shifting to urban ore is a great way of getting away from that. Second thing we're doing is we're polluting the system. We create almost over 100,000 different kinds of man-made chemicals that we put in everything, furniture, clothing, food, and it comes into our system. The third thing we're doing is destroying nature faster than it can regenerate. And the fourth thing we do is what we call the gas pedal, and these are not hierarchical, they're just given random numbers. I think the last one's the most important, which is the social side of sustainability. So we have to make sure we have really strong, respectful communities. We're taking away barriers for people like failure to provide, economic barriers, structural barriers even, so that people can just meet their basic human needs.
Economic freedom
Yeah,
without destroying the planet.
exactly.
And as you know, some of the tropical rainforests we're destroying, or even the temperate rainforests we destroy, there are clues to medicines that will save us in the long run, and it's this continual loop that you forget about. You cut a tree down, you do something else, and yes, we are hewers of wood, and that's good.
Yeah.
But there might be the cure for cancer in that rainforest, so let's not just slash and burn and take it all down and never replant it.
Absolutely.
It's just long-term thinking, really.
It is, and it's about being strategic about it. It's not, you know, God bless, and I'm a nature lover too. Like, there's so many amazing organizations out there protecting the marine life and forests and wetlands and things like that. I'm not saying that that's not what we need to focus on, because we do. But then you get to an extreme point where people are saying, no, we can't cut down trees. That's not what it's about. It's thinking about how do we do things smartly and strategically.
Sure, sustainability,
Yeah.
really. Okay, take me to our homes.
Homes.
Now we're walking around the home. What can we do? Where should we start? Recycle,
Yeah.
reduce, reuse, rethink?
Yes. Everyone. I don't know if people blank out when they hear those
I
things
know.
anymore, because it's been pounded in so much, but those are fantastic strategies. I think one of the ideas I shared was food. I mean, food is such a megalithic, huge topic. It encompasses all of those 4 things we talked about in sustainability. Fossil fuels are used to transport food. I think the average carrot travels 1,600 miles
Really?
to get to your table.
That's further than I travel.
Yes.
The average carrot, 1,600 miles.
Yes.
When we
So-
can grow a carrot right here.
Exactly. So I think food is such an amazing place to make change at home, and there's lots of solutions.
Organic, local, what?
Well, that's another really great question. So organic or local, this is like one of those, oh my gosh, what do I do? So the first thing I always say to people, if you can find local organic, that's the best, because it's not traveled that far, plus you know that it's free of chemicals. The second thing I always say is, if you have a local farm you like, go and investigate and talk to them, because getting certified to be organic is really expensive and very time consuming.
Sure,
So,
and who to trust is always a question. Who to trust that it is really local, that it is not genetically modified, that somebody did actually grow it in Abbotsford.
yeah,
You know?
exactly. So
What's on the label?
exactly, and there's so much work being done on making sure we have fair and free information on labels. That's a whole nother topic.
Oh,
but
sure.
Yeah,
And the more we demand this, the more
Absolutely.
people will grow it, it will come. The whole urban farm movement,
yeah.
really
and-
exciting, the green roof
Yeah.
movement.
Balcony gardening is another option for people, getting involved in local community gardens, starting food co-ops, and there's even local delivery services like Spud. So
Oh, right.
yeah, but I
Yeah.
wanted to touch on what you just said, because I just watched Food Inc. I've been avoiding watching it, and I finally watched it the other day, and the owner of Stonyfield Dairy,
Yes.
is this amazing story, and they're in Walmart, and he said the exact same thing. He's like, the reason we got into Walmart and can make this huge change and offer organics to so many people is people asked for it.
Exactly. He was here actually on the show.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, an amazing man. He's from Vermont or something, isn't he?
Yeah.
Stonyfield Farm?
Yeah.
But he was way ahead of the
Way ahead.
parade. Started early. You know, a lot of hippies started early, and I don't know what happened to us. We lost our way, forgot to go back to the land. But it's so important. It's important for our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, so we need to get on it.
Yes. Second thing I love talking about, because it's such a massive topic and it's really scary from a health perspective, is toxins. So something else that people can do at home is look at getting toxin-free. So this could be a whole hour show.
Yes.
So the little things I like to say is just take baby steps, because it's really overwhelming, and the best places to start are like personal care products, things that you're using every day. And the strategy is, as things run out, it gives you time to research solutions that you can replace. Because, you know, some women say, oh, I need to ditch all of my makeup. And it's like, well, if you want, but that's really expensive. And, you know, hair product adds up.
Right.
So do a little bit at a time. And I brought in a few, well, this is one. This is my my
So,
shampoo. I brought it out of the
Hydra
shower.
shampoo, you did.
Yeah.
All right, tell me why it's different than other shampoos. And I know there are environmental shampoos, but read the label. What
Yeah.
don't you want to put in your hair?
Yes. Well, there's a wonderful website, because I probably couldn't tell you all of them off the
Not
top
a
of my
chemist, a
head.
geologist.
Yes, totally.
Okay.
You need a PhD sometimes. You want to avoid things like parabens, fragrance. If you see perfume or parfum on the label, that can actually mean about 3,000 different chemicals. So you want to avoid that. Coloring, FD colors, what else is in there? Anything that's PEG, that's an acronym for a really long chemical name. They're all preservatives, and parabens are quite scary too, because they've actually been found inside breast cancer tumors when they do biopsies of women. So the thing to remember is, like this one I love because it's made here in BC and it's unscented, and I add essential oils to make it smell.
Sure. Essential oils, important.
Important.
Make sure you get an essential oil, not a fake essential oil.
Exactly,
It's
a
like
real essential
You have to
oil.
be a scientist. It's the Sherlock Holmes of, is this really the
You do.
thing?
So there's a wonderful website called Campaign for Safe Cosmetics. It's run by the Environmental Working Group out of the US, and I absolutely recommend to people, you can type in a product and it'll tell you, is this good, medium, what should you be aware of, what's in it.
Well, as females, you think how much lipstick we eat,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
when you're slathering that Get Younger cream on your skin, what the skin is absorbing,
It's incredible.
I have no idea what happens in that room on television. But you can't go on TV without makeup.
Right.
But maybe we're green, I'm not sure.
Well, something to look into.
Yes,
Happy
we
to
will.
help. Yeah.
But that's very important, isn't it, to be active? I know in the early days of recycling in the office, people had to actually go to management, not necessarily here, but where I was working, and say, we are throwing so much paper into the garbage. We need to have a recycling bin. We need to be on a program.
Yeah, it's really important. And, you know, recycling, when I used to work in Australia for this engineering company, and there were a lot of men in this company, seemed to be in men-dominated industries.
Right.
And
Smart.
yeah, maybe. Learned a lot, that's for sure. But I had this one man come up to me, he's like, my wife just won't recycle. How do I get her to recycle? Which I thought was so strange. And we always talk about, we're the only species on the planet that creates waste that isn't food for another system. So that's why recycling is important.
Sure, and lead by example. You recycle, the family will follow.
Exactly.
Maybe. Okay, Tracy Lydiard, our guest, she has a blueprint to keep your family green. It's called Your Green Family Blueprint. We'll come back.